So welcome to APAN59 in Yokohama. Hope you're enjoying the weather. So this is Introduction to Federation. This team over here probably know more than I do about everything, but that's fine, they can add into the conversation. But before we begin, I'd just like to get everyone to introduce themselves and tell us where you're from and who you're associated with. So I'll just start pointing at people around the room. Hopefully you'll see me point, and if you could just stand up and yell out who you are, where you're from, and what your role is, who you're associated with. And we'll start with Farhan.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Farhan from Circular Malaysian Access Federation. So my role in the federation as engineering and services. Federation service and also the Agro Malaysia as well. And I also the steering of the
Okay, looks like you have to actually come up to the podium. We'll get you go up to the podium and...
Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Farhan. I'm from Sifulan Malaysian Access Federation. So my role is basically I'm responsible for the operation of Identity Federation Service in Malaysia and also the EduRoam service as well. I'm also the member of EduGen Steering Committee. Thank you.
Okay. So you get to pick the next person to go up.
Yeah.
Dalia.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I am Dalia Abraham. I work for Australian Access Federation. My role is Senior Technical Support Analyst. I work closely with Terry and look after all the Federation activities in Australia. Thank you. Nice to meet you all.
Hello everyone, my name is Davide Vaghetti from Italy. I work for GAR and I'm working in the trust and identity space basically. I'm responsible for the Italian Identity Federation that is called EDEM, and I'm also working for GEANT in the context of the GEANT project where I'm the so-called EduGen service owner. Paul? No, yeah, better not.
It's easier like that.
Paul gives.
Hello. My name is not Pal, like people think. It's Paul. It's very simple. Yeah, I'm Pal for everyone. I'm the head of running Sunet's Identity Federation, Swami. Sunet is Swedish NRN. I'm primarily a policy guy, more than technical guy. Management and policy. Doing things in EduGen, of course. In the project, doing policy together with David and Martin, but also sitting in the steering committee right now. I'm the chair. Next.
Thanks. Good morning. I'm Hideaki Goto. I'm working at Tohoku University, and I'm working with the National Institute of Informatics. So I'm supposed to represent Gakunin in Japan, but I'm not so familiar with Gakunin. And I've been in charge of EduRoam operation in Japan since 2006, and recently we have developed a different roaming federation in Japan, and including open roaming. I'm going to talk about it tomorrow. Thanks.
Thank you. Very much interested to learn more about the open roaming initiatives in your place tomorrow, really. So, hello, I'm Maarten Kremers. I'm working for SURF, which is the Research and Education Network in the Netherlands. I'm there in Trust and Identity already for the last 15 years, I guess, and was responsible, amongst others, for part of operating our identity federation. And then I also got involved in the international work of GEANT, which is the pan-European network. And we have the so-called, what David already said, GEANT project, where we run, amongst others, the Global EduGain and the Global EduRoam Federation. And I'm, for that project, well, the project manager, responsible for it. So. The lady, there, sorry, you, yeah, sorry. I'm looking everywhere, so that's one of my perks also.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Trish Raditich from the Australian Research Data Commons. I am the Regional Community Manager for the Research Data Alliance for Oceania and East Asia. So mine's very much a community engagement, partnership development role, and not directly involved in identity federation, but I'm here to learn. So probably, hopefully, one of the first non-technical people. My background is in IT, but now it's really more about partnership development, collaboration, open science.
And we met in Perth, didn't we?
Hi, Terry. Yeah, it's good to see you over this way. It was really beautiful this weekend, wasn't it?
It was a great weekend.
If anyone was in Yokohama on the weekend.
Hello everyone, I'm Eric from Hong Kong Beatus University. I'm the IT manager for the university. Before I joined the university, I actually worked in IT industry for 20 years. So today I would like to learn more about the identity federation, because in commercial world that seldom learn about the EduRoam or other federation, but usually use much of the commercial shell application. So thank you.
Hello, morning everyone. I am Karma from Bhutan. I represent the National Research and Education Network in Bhutan, called Druk Research and Education Network. I am the project manager and also the chief network architect of the National Research and Education Network. So whereby, like any other countries, we connect all the research and education institutes, but also we go one layer up. We connect not only research and education institutes, universities, but also hospitals and schools to our high-speed National Research and Education Network. I'm looking forward to learn about the EduRoam and also the IAM. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Akinori, working at NYI is a Gakuin Japanese Federation operator. I'm in charge of authenticator registry. I presented at today's IAM session, start at 3:30. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Kanchana Kanchanasut from Thailand. I am here to learn what is EduRoam and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you. So if you sit right down the back, you've got longer to walk.
Thank you. Probably would move to the front. Adams from Hong Kong Construction Industry Council. We also have an education arm called Institute of Constructions in Hong Kong. So my take would be I'm more on citizen identity. So I would like to see how that identity for education world could connect with citizens' identities as well. Because we are like managing 1 million personal data in Hong Kong. So I want to make their life simpler with one single identity. Thank you.
Okay, thanks everyone for your introductions. It's great to see some people here. It would have been great to see more, but we get what we get. For every player who's attending today, you win a prize, if you so choose. We have a bunch of leftover APAN IFIRE t-shirts available. that I accidentally forgot to bring at a previous conference. So there's a bag full there, the pink bag, and there's a pile on the floor. Mostly they're green ones, which is the Pakistan version. So there was 3 activities we ran in Pakistan, Australia, and where was he? And Singapore, I think was the other one. For the iFire stuff. Oh no, sorry. Pakistan. Might have been Hong Kong. Anyway, we ran 3 events. We funded folk to come along. Unfortunately, it was right through the middle of COVID, so it was all done online. And it was really difficult to mail T-shirts around the world in the middle of COVID. So I've been bringing them around to conferences to try and get rid of the dang things. Anyway, if you want one, grab one. They'll be getting rid of them all week until they're gone. I'm not taking any home. This is the last packet, and that's it. Okay, so introduction to Identity Federation. So why are we all here this morning? We have a team of experts down the front here. We're probably together, we know a truckload of stuff about identity federations. And we're going to look at today, this morning, how they can help researchers, academics and students to access services, collaborate and solve the big problems. So there's a lot of big problems that we have to deal with: climate change, health problems, lots of other stuff that we want to help our researchers work through, and to make it as easy as possible for them to collaborate and work together. So identity federations provide multilateral agreements that allow campuses to take advantage of the identity infrastructure, of their identity infrastructure, and possibly of services offered at other institutions. So it's about users accessing services that aren't locally hosted by their own university. So they can collaborate and share information and data and resources to do the work that they need to do. This session will provide an introduction to identity federations, investigate their benefits, usage and technologies, and policies, and provide many references that participants can use for future investigation. And now we make this go forward. So what is an identity federation? Or what is a federation? Not an identity federation, but just generally, what is a federation? And I just found this online. It's the act of uniting or forming a union of states, groups, etc., by arrangement of each member to subordinate its power to the role of a central authority in common affairs. So it's basically a bunch of folk get together and decide on a bunch of policies or rules or governance that they want to work with, and work together to benefit their participants. There are many federations out there, not just identity or technical federations. There are sporting federations, there are community federations. It's just different groups or organisations that come together to form a bigger group to make up a federation. So when we talk about identity federations, federation identity is a method of linking users' identity across multiple separate identity management systems. It allows users to quickly move between systems while maintaining security. So if I log in, I'm logging into my university and accessing services that are beyond my university's boundaries, effectively. Identity federation, in the simplest terms, is about single sign-on across boundaries beyond your home institution. Your home institution supplies you with a username, a password, possibly a multi-factor authentication identity, which you can use over and over again to access many, many services that are either internal to your organisation or beyond your organisation, and even beyond your country, and we'll talk about that today. So the members, who make up members of an identity federation? Who are the target audiences that go together to provide and build an identity federation? So the target audiences that we're looking at for the use of identity federations are people who want to access publisher resources. So there are plenty of companies and organisations that publish research papers, that publish various information that researchers can take use of. So that's one group. There are organisations and research groups that want to build research communities. We have many of those that we're working with throughout Australia. For example, our biocommons community. It's across many of our universities, it's across our health sector. They want to work together and collaborate. So we've been targeting those folk, those organisations to join the Australian Access Federation to build a community of that benefits that research community. We have many research communities. There's a HAS community, our humanities community, building together to access resources, Aboriginal cultural stuff, art, historical stuff, museums, etc. We're trying to bring those into our federation. And again, it's about building those research communities. Students are also part of the community, and we have service providers or services that want to provide student life benefits to students at universities. When I say student life benefits, it's about cheap pizzas, it's about access to cheap concert tickets, cheap music, or that sort of access that makes it easier for students to actually attend university by reducing the cost for them. And to do that, the owners of those services, the people who give out the free pizzas, they really want to verify that the person who's getting that cheaper pizza is actually a student. So we provide a verification service. And sharing, teaching and learning materials. So universities generate a lot of research, also a lot of teaching and learning materials. They've been doing it independently for many years, but more recently they've been trying to set up courses that span across multiple universities. And identity federations work really well in that space, and that a student from one university can attend a course at another university but not have to go through all the onboarding process of that second university. So it benefits the user that they have one university they're tied to, it benefits the university in that they don't have to reproduce that same content over and over again. They can just share that content amongst themselves. Federation is made up of rules and policies, and I'll talk about this in more detail later. But some of the example policies I've just listed on the screen here today is one is the Federation rules, and these are the rules that apply to all members of the Federation. Every participating member needs to sign up to the rules and work within those rules and frameworks that the Federation rules provide. We've got our metadata registration practice statement, and this is really a technical policy about what sort of information that needs to be shared technically amongst the participants within the Federation. We've got REFED's baseline expectations. And don't worry if you don't understand what REFED's is, I'll talk about that in the next session. But they've set a lower bar, a minimum set of requirements that they're moving to have everyone meet to participate in the global federation called EduGain. And I'll also talk about EduGain a bit later on too. Everybody's got a terms of use for being in the federation. They have their own terms of use for being a member of the university or being a user of a particular service. So there are many terms of use that are sort of spread across the federation. Privacy statement. So federation is really about ensuring privacy, or one of its factors is about ensuring privacy of users, so that your information when shared with a service provider doesn't go beyond that service provider, and that service provider only requests the information it needs to effectively run that service. So we're not sharing your life story to access a service, we're just sharing the minimal required information, reducing the amount of risk around your loss of privacy. There's also a bunch of technical standards and requirements that are documented for each federation. They are how people connect their technical pieces together. And there are other policies and procedures as required. So we actually have a policy in our federation about the use of our logo. We want it to be used effectively, correctly, and to make sure that it's not being abused by anybody. And some federations, I know the Australian Access Federation does this regularly, and we run a yearly compliance activity. It's a lot of work to do that, but every year we just go out and ask all of our members to reassert they are still maintaining and working within the rules of the Federation. And I think the REFED's baseline expectations is also trying to move to that type of arrangement where there's a yearly review or really renewal of the compliance with the baseline expectations. The technology. So federated identity is a method of linking a user's identity across multiple separate identity management systems. To do that, we need some technology to make it all happen. And there are some defined protocols that we use within the identity federations that we run. Of those, there are SAML, Security Assertion Markup Language, and OIDC OpenID Connect. So those are the two main ones that we use to, the protocols that we use to do the identity federations. There are software to implement the protocols, and we'll look at some of the software options that are available for hooking up your identities and your services within the federation. And there are a number of support tools which should generally be run by your federation operator. So it'll be your NREN or your federation operator will run a set of tools that will enhance and make the operation of your federation easy to continue to maintain and make sustainable. So, common identity federations that are out there. We generally work with 5 common identity federations in our team at the AF we regularly deal with. So I'm going to throw it out to the floor just to get you awake and see if you'll participate in listening. So what do you think those 5 identity federations could be that the AF deals with regularly and you as a federation operator or others might also deal with those federations? Anybody? Let's hear some ideas. We've already had two talked about this morning. We're going to have to answer it for you. Hideaki is actually talking about one tomorrow. Sorry? No? Oh. So Edurome's one of them. Well done, Ray. We got one down. Okay, we'll just skip through them then. So we'll have a look. We've got Edurome. Here's our first one. We deal with this we don't actually run Edurome, but we do get a lot of questions through our support desk about Edurome, and we then pass that off to RNet, which is our federation, our NREN that actually runs Edurome. So we do get some questions about Edurome. So Edurome is a service that allows roaming network access, so wireless access. As students and staff or faculty visit other institutions or locations, they gain access to the Edurome network using their home account credentials. No guest account or open networks are required, which in turn decreases the burden of support on part of the network administrator and improves the overall security profile of the network. So Edurome, I assume it's here today. I'm not sure, I haven't checked yet. It is here, great. And it's working, which is even better. And it has been being rolled out for many years across the world. And if you go to Japan, which we're all at now, you'll find Edurome hotspots, or the open roaming stuff will allow you to access through to Edurome. So that's one type of federation. It's a wireless-based federation. It's just about authenticating your wireless device to a network, and that's all it does. The national identity federations, so that's what we're talking about today. Identity federations are multilateral agreements that allow campuses to take advantage of identity infrastructure and possibly of services offered at other institutions. It's web-based generally. There has been some move to make it usable for access to HPC or high performance computing through SSH or other methods. Still a lot of work to happen in that space. Authentication is performed by the user's organisation. Information about the user is passed to the service. So your email address, your full name, your display name, your organisation you're from, etc., is passed across. It provides cross-boundary single sign-on. So I'm doing single sign-on to many services, both within my organisation and beyond. And authorisation is generally occurs at the service. So identity federations is primarily about authentication to services. Authorization is beyond the current or the initial scope of an identity federation, but we and other federations are starting to or have been working to move to provide authorization services and other services that will support or better support services in the federations. So that's the two easy ones. What are the other three that I was talking about? Corporate identity federations. So these are federations that are actually within the university. These are the local identity management systems effectively. So it's a campus identity and access management. It's single sign-on for campus services. One account per user, single identity provider. So each university will generally have one centralised identity provider that provides the identities for, or the authentication processes for their users. And these are generally commercial products such as Microsoft's Entra ID or Okta, Google Authentication, Ping Federate, etc. And these are very much campus-based, campus-focused identity federations, and they're sort of ring-fenced off within the campus. There's local policies, multi-factor authentication, authorization, all that sort of stuff for within the campus lives within these corporate identity federations. And there are many campus services that are connected directly to the Entras or the Oktas within these campus federations. But these campus federations also connect out or can be used to connect to the identity federations at the national scale. So we tend to deal with the corporate identity federations, the AF, when somebody forgets their password or that sort of local stuff. Somebody can't access a service from their federation. Sometimes it'll be the local identity federation or the local access stuff that's at fault. Somebody's forgotten their password. And we generally throw these back to the university to deal with. We don't deal with passwords or stuff at the identity federation level. So that's 3. 4 is EduGain. So this is a federation of federations, in effect. So the EduGain Inter-Federation Service connects identity federations around the world, simplifying access to content, services and resources for the global research and education community. EduGain comprises over 80 participating federations, connecting more than 8,000 identity and service providers. So how close is 80 at the moment, Davide?
Now we are at 9,800.
All right, so this is out of date. I think I got this off the EduGain site, so you need to update that. Yep. So thousands and thousands of services are available through EduGain, which is beyond what any single identity federation can collect. So as I said, it's the federation of federations. So that's number 4. Any guesses what number 5 is? Last chance. It's an evil one. It's a hint. Ah, yes. Open Athens is the 5th federation we deal with quite regularly. And not that we want to, but we have to, because a lot of our organisations have both Open Athens and AAF, Federated Identity, and it just gets confusing for users when they see their organisation listed twice on a discovery or when they try to log in. I've been trying to work with Open Athens for a couple of years to try and help resolve this problem by either hiding the AF version or doing all sorts of things. Our best solution so far is to say University X bracket library, which is the Open Athens one, and there's the university for the AAF. Users can work out if they've actually got some sort of differentiation in name. And I'm looking for my team over here if you've got any other solutions that will help.
Yeah, there were a solution online on Friday, but was retracted.
Ah.
So it will be, seamless access will be filterable by different kinds of things. You can say, I don't want, only I want to have Open Athens.
All right.
Or I only want to have AF.
Good. Yep. Okay. So there is a solution that's coming that will help us solve this problem. Yeah. Yep. So what is Open Athens? So from their website, it makes accessing knowledge through a single sign-on easy. It helps service providers and librarians in organisations all around the globe to break barriers to knowledge. It provides an easy proxy option for backwards compatibility. But it does clash with national identity federations connected to EduGain. And that's a lot of the issues that we have. A lot of librarians ringing us up saying, why have we got two identity providers next to each other with the same name? So, benefits of identity federation. How do you think identity federations benefit their community? Now, for the next 5 slides, I've left these blank because I was hoping there'd be a crowd here to sort of provide input into this. But I've identified 4 or 5 areas that can benefit from identity federations. So the first one is about saving time. So there's a number of things here about identity federations that save time for various communities or various groups that participate in the federation. So from the user's perspective, it saves time because I don't have to use multiple authentications or logins or credentials to log into each service. So I'm not going to a service over here and it needs its own username password, so I have to look that up or remember that password. I go to another service, I have to remember another password. Because of the single sign-on of identity federations, once I've logged in once, go to another service, I'm already logged in. Go to another service, I'm already logged in. So it's saving the researchers, the users, sometimes only a small time, but all those small times add up together to, over a while, will save them considerable time and effort, save them having to think about what passwords they need to use to get into particular services. For the identity providers, it also saves them time, the organisations that provide identities to the Federation, because when they want to connect to a service, if it's in the Identity Federation, all the technical stuff is already done for them. The service is just there, rating, ready to go. So it will save them effort and time. They may have to go and do a contractual agreement with that service provider, particularly if it's a publisher, but once they've got that agreement in place, the technology stuff's already in place, waiting for that agreement to happen. So there's a bit of time saving for your identity providers. There's also some time saved with not having to deal with multiple passwords, forgotten passwords, dealing with users. So users have one username, one password. There are less calls to their support desk. So it's going to save them time, reduce their support effort and load because there's one password and one username for everything, and that makes it easier for both the user and the organisation. It saves them time on provisioning accounts because they only need to provision one account for each user to access everything. They don't have to provision a user for an access to that thing and one for that service and another one for that service. So there's time saving all across the board for the identity providers. And in reverse, for service providers, once they've got an agreement, if that identity provider they're working with is in the Federation, the technology stuff is already done, so they don't have to deal with a whole lot of technical issues in bilaterally connecting to every identity provider in the nation or globally. It's all done through EduGain or the Identity Federation. There's also a lot of time dealing with users because they're not having to provide individual usernames and passwords for users when they join that service. There's no registration process. It's all done because the university has that person registered in the Identity Federation or in their organisation. They don't have to deal with password changes or lost passwords or password renewal because, again, that piece of work has been offloaded to the university to deal with. So there's lots of time saving across various communities or various groups within the organisations for Identity Federation. So that's one benefit, saving time for everybody. It's great. Saving money. So again, similar sort of story. We're saving money because there's lots less technical setup to do when we're connecting between your organisation and a service provider. If somebody brings a service into the Federation, it's not just to connect to one organisation, it connects to every organisation that's already in that Identity Federation. So there's a lot of money, a lot of time and effort saved in connecting your service to a federation instead of going out and trying to connect to every individual organisation that you want to participate with. And another one more for students is the student life type services, where the students are getting discounts for accessing various services or resources or stuff like pizzas, clothes, music. They're getting a discount because they're a student at the university. So our students save a little bit of money as well, making their life a little bit easier to get through the university. Improved security and privacy. So because we've got one identity provider at each organisation, we've got one username, password, we've got improved security because there's a less surface attack area for the bad guys to try and steal that password, that username, because there's one identity provider. The users feel more secure because they know what their identity provider looks like. They should be familiar with the branding of their organisation, their university, so when they log in, if they get something that looks a bit strange or different, they'll be querying that. Why is my identity provider different to what it did look like yesterday? Something's a bit odd here, so they'll start to be more thoughtful about when they log into stuff. And on the privacy side of things, federations are set up so that it's minimal information is provided to the service provider to make that service work. So there's minimal information being sent from the university to the service provider about the user when they log in. And that's all tied in with the federation rules, and most federation rules will then reference your local national privacy policies and governance and statements, and ensure that each of the organisations participating in the federation are working within those frameworks provided by your local governments around privacy. And enhanced collaboration. So once we've got these identity federations in place, there is a great opportunity to share resources, services, content across boundaries of universities. So a community of researchers from different universities can work on a single project that is part of the federation. They can share files, they can share information, they can run wikis, they can blog, they can all that sort of stuff. With that same single sign-on to that set of services that allows for that enhanced collaboration. So all great things, great benefits of being part of the Federation. So let's have a look at the Identity Federation participants. A closer look at who actually makes up the Federation participants. So first off, we have our Federation operators. These are teams that provide the support, provides and supports the Federation. So Dahlia and I are with the Australian Access Federation, which is the Federation operator for Australia, and we've seen guys in the front row here are also part of their own National Identity Federation. Most identity federations, and they all should have a business model for ongoing sustainability of their federation, because it's not free to run a federation. You need to pay staff, you need to run servers, you need to have communications. There's a whole lot of costs involved. You need to send people to conferences like this to learn, to grow. So you need a business sustainability model. You need to be able to charge people, you get your government to fund it, or whatever your business model is. You need to have a model that will ensure sustainability of your federation. You need to provide day-to-day support for your federation participants, and that's what Dahlia and I do at our federation when we're at home. We sit on our service desk tool and answer service queries. We write knowledge base articles, we provide tutorial information, we help people set up their service providers and their identity providers when they're joining the federation. And develops optional but maintain software components of the federation. And I'll look at what these components are a bit later on. But those are sort of the core sort of things that a federation operator will do. Now, how you run your federation operator, or who runs a federation operator, will depend on you. The majority of national identity federations are operated by the local NREN, but this is not always a requirement. So the AAF is not an NREN. We are a separate organisation to our NREN. ARNET's our NREN, and that has been of benefit to us. We've been able to grow without having any restrictions put on us by our NREN. And Malaysia, you're a separate entity to your NREN, I believe? Yep, as is the Indian Federation. There are a few federations around that are separate, but the majority do tend to be part of their NREN, and there are benefits to being part of the NREN because you have that community of technical folk that are available in your NREN. Your NREN is probably already connected to all of your universities across the nation, so there's some real benefits there. It just depends on how your federation is set up in the first place. Ours was set up as a project out of one of the universities, completely separate to what the NREN was doing at that time. It's up to you how you want to do that thing. Organisations with users, so these are our identity providers, and there are plenty of flavours of these. So it's any organisation that have people that would benefit from the use of services provided by the Federation. Universities are prime candidates, and in Australia I think we have all but 3 universities in our Federation, and of those 3 that aren't in our Federation, they became universities after the Federation was joined, and we still haven't got to them yet. We will drag them in, but these are universities that have basically come from overseas and plonked themselves in Australia. So we will get to them, but they haven't reached out to us yet. So, and they're generally small, so we'll give them a bit of time to grow. Our vocational training, and I'm not sure what you call these folks, but these are the folks who teach people how to be plumbers and electricians and so forth. There may be a need for them to join a federation, and it's we've got a few. We actually call them TAFEs, Technical and Advanced Education organisations. And we've got a few of those in our federation, but they're a bit of a basket case in Australia. They keep changing per state. We had one in Western Australia many years ago, but then Western Australia reorganised from, I think, 13 down to 5 TAFEs, and they just disappeared. So we'll deal with them when they come and talk to us. We won't actually go and actively chase them. Schools, the K-12. Some federations deal with K-12. They're really after publishers and that sort of thing. There are also so many of them, it's really hard to get a handle on how many schools of various levels need access to your federation. We've had a few schools, high schools in particular, reach out to us as they've seen a service that's a publisher that says, join your national federation to get access to this publisher. Generally they don't, because they then see the cost of actually joining the federation. They can't see the full benefit just to get access to one service. We are looking at ways to make it more viable for those to join individual services together, a bit like what Open Athens does, but that's a future thing. Research organisations, that's where the Australian Access Federation is really targeting. We're really targeting bringing all our researchers into the federation, and there are a lot of small research organisations or research organisations based around some technology, some infrastructure that we want to be part of the federation, and we've put a big effort in over the past few years to bring those into the federation. What's this thing in Melbourne? There's a beamline tool thing. It's a great big circular building. We went and had a look at it the other day. They run beamlines to scan stuff, way off my head. But they're very interested in joining the federation so they can offer that technical service, that infrastructure as a service to the federation members, because they have a lot of university users that use their stuff. At the moment they have to register each user. They have no idea when that user finishes working at the university. There's a whole lot of issues. When we spoke to them, they said that federation stuff sounds wonderful, and they're now talking to us more seriously about adding their resources to the federation, and that should be great for us. We're also heavily targeting the health sector, because there's a lot of research happening in health. We have one state health sector as part of, in our federation, and we're working with WA Health at the moment. to see if they want to join the AAF. So they've actually reached out to us, so we're starting to sort of work through that process. Health sector's very, very slow to get into the Federation. It's a long lead time because they've got lots of issues that they need to deal with around privacy, particularly patient health documentation, and dealing with all that safely and securely. So there's a lot of hand-holding and effort that we need to do to get them in. Similarly with government, government's slightly different because people can tend to change. Government departments change over time. As the new government comes in, it will all change around. So we're slowly getting more and more services in the government. We do have a lot of government users that actually use our virtual identity provider or our identity provider of last resort or our virtual home to get singlised accounts, but that's a bit of a pain. So. And there are probably others that you could think of that could potentially make benefit of joining the Federation as an identity provider. Our next group is organisations with services. So these are folk like, again, universities. They have lots of services that are internal, but they want to share out beyond their boundaries with other researchers. We have a lot of collaborative projects and activities across university boundaries with researchers from 3, 4, 10, 15 universities working together, having them use the Federation to gain access to the stuff they're building or working on is also a great benefit for them. And we're doing a lot of work to bring those groups together in collaborative virtual organisations, if you like. Our publishers love making money, so they love connecting to federations to get more and more users. The more users they get, the more cash they make. Storage solutions, things like, it's not cloud storage, what's the new cloud store called? File sender. There's many file senders around that share data sets. Our health sector, they also have many data sets and tools that they want to access. Our government have piles of data sets that they want to provide access to universities. We, a few years ago, worked with the Prime Minister's office, in fact, who was actually running this particular service. And it's a tool that allows a person to register to get access to some government data set. And they have their own identity solution called Vanguard. The universities looked at Vanguard and said, no, that's way too hard to join. Let's have the AAF become a way that people can get access to this particular service. So now they have Vanguard, AAF and MyGov. So that has provided easier access to that set of government stuff. Commercial organisations, we have plenty of commercial organisations offering various services. We have one that actually offers Moodle as a service, and they connect through to us and then connect that Moodle into the AAF. I think you've been working on a Moodle as a service thing for a while now, or is that? Or some sort of... So that's about sharing teaching and learning materials.
And also for library.
Oh yeah, and
accessing the library content, local library.
Cool. So, and there's plenty of other types of service providers that are out there. So I think when we first started, we had a telescope set up in Queensland that was controllable from Edugain. So they wanted folk in the US to be able to point the telescope at the southern skies because they can't actually see the southern skies from America, but they could actually use those telescopes in southeast Queensland to view the skies in their time zone, and controlled that telescope through the Federation. I'm not sure if that one's still running or not. There's a University of Southern Queensland one. We'll go and visit them shortly because that's one of the things we also do as a Federation operator is go and visit and talk to our folks in face-to-face meetings to see how they're going and see what other things they can bring to the Federation. Our final group is our Federation users. We've got students, we've got academics, we've got teachers, researchers, citizen scientists. We're trying to bring them into the Federation. There's a lot of citizen science activity happening across Australia, and it would be great to bring these citizen science folk in. The problem is they don't have an organisation to attach themselves to, so we've got a lot of thinking about how to bring those folk in. They'll probably have a Google account or a Facebook or a LinkedIn account. How do we bring them in, get a higher level of assurance that they actually are who they say they are, but also restrict them to the services that only want or will allow citizen science in. We don't want just any Joe blogs coming in and accessing some of the services that we have. So that's the folks who participate in the Federation. Now we've got our Federation policies. Good. So the Federation policy stuff, and I think Davide's going to be talking much more detail about this on Thursday, policy side of things. So I'll just, sorry, yep. So I've kept this to a minimum, just sort of going through what the policies are, and we'll leave Davide with his thunder for Thursday. A structured approach may be appropriate with a main policy document that changes rarely, and all other issues are placed in appendices which may change over time. So one key sort of core Federation set of rules that could ease the burden of changing your Federation rules, because when you change your Federation rules, it can be an issue to get everybody to re-agree to the new rules and continue to participate in the Federation. We've just gone through a change of rules for Edugain, have we not? And you've got to get every Federation operator to re-sign that document. Has the Australian Access Federation done so? I think we have. Yep. All right. Yep. 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 So it's a painful job to change the rules. We tend to make changes to our Federation rules on a 2 to 3 year cycle, and they're generally approved. The changes are approved at our annual general meetings. So that happens when we have a business case for the rule changes. It's a whole process. Luckily, we have a yearly compliance process that has everyone reassert their agreement to the rules, and we use that compliance to get everyone to move to the next version of the rules when we have a change. We also have a lot of communications and change process around a new set of rules. The most recent change was about 2 years ago when we introduced a couple of new Federation attributes into the Federation, added some stuff about modern slavery, because that was a Australian government needed all Federation or all organisations to put that in their Federation rules, and some other sort of Australia-based type stuff, which was fairly easy to get through, but it just had to go through the process of making that change. So your Federation rules, this is a high-level thing, and this is just from the template that the ReFeds guys provide. It provides a definition and terminology. It's got an introduction about the rules. It talks about the governance and the roles of the Federation. So what is the governance? What are the obligations and rights of the Federation operator? And what are the obligations and rights of the Federation members? Who's eligible to join the Federations, generally in your Federation rules? And for our rules, we've got universities, research people, and anybody else who's approved by the board. So we have an out so we can let anybody into the Federation that we so choose if it makes sense to our board to let them do so. And I'm not sure if this is true, but NRENs potentially can restrict access to being a member of the NREN. And I'm not sure if that's right, because you generally want people beyond your NREN to participate in your Federation, but you might not want to provide them networking services and other stuff. So, yep, pal?
That's all about funding.
Yeah.
It's only funding.
The procedures, so how to join, how to withdraw, and a whole bunch of legal stuff. How to termination of a federation member if they're doing the wrong thing, liability and indemnification, jurisdiction and dispute resolution stuff, how to deal with or dealing with interfederation and any amendments. So these are the core topics that your rules should sort of cover in your federation. The GANT project has developed a policy template to make it easier for you to develop your federation rules. A lot of work was done many years ago to have a look at all of the existing federation rules and put them in a big boiling pot and sort of siphon out what was useful and come up with some common areas of federation rules. And they produced the Federation Policy Template to help new and emerging federations quickly understand the requirements for their federation policies and to support an interoperable approach to policy creation and implementation. So if you have a new federation, you want to get some federation rules up and running quickly, have a look at the Federation Policy Template. Federations are encouraged to use this template, and it will make joining EduGain a whole lot easier if you are using that template, because we don't have to go through and siphon through to see if you're covering all of the basics in your federation rules, because all of the basic stuff will be provided in that Federation Policy Template. And you can download it as an editable version you can grab. These slides will be available on the APAN website if you want to get these links. And again, refeds has come up again, and I'll be talking about that in the next session. Your federation technologies, you've got your technical specifications, SAML and OIDC, got your identity providers, service providers, and the federation tools. So we'll quickly zoom through those. SAML, this is one of the protocols, Security Assertion Markup Language. SAML version 2 was approved as an OASIS standard in March 2005. So it's been around a while. It's getting a bit dated. It's XML based, so it's not particularly programmer friendly. There is a thing called Shibboleth. It's an open source reference implementation of the SAML protocols. There's also a thing called Simple SAML PHP, which again is open source, and it's an alternative, and it's PHP based offering, which you can use as some of your technology to implement the SAML infrastructure. And there are many commercial offerings, but most of those commercial offerings don't do or support the full range of requirements of the SAML protocol and make it difficult for them to join a national identity federation in a native form. So generally, a lot of federation operators, I know FRAN and the AF run a identity provider as a service, and we actually run Shibboleth underneath and provide that as a proxy to the university's Entra or Okta or whatever. So we utilise the university's SAML technology, but use a reference implementation so it meets most of the requirements that we need in the national identity federations. We've got OpenID Connect. OpenID Connect is an interoperable authentication protocol based on the OAuth 2 framework of specifications, stuff there. It simplifies the way to verify the identity of users based on the authentication performed by an authorization server and to obtain user profile information in an interoperable and REST-like manner. So it's just a more modern identity protocol. It's more developer-friendly. It's based on JSON, so all the information going backwards and forwards is JSON. It's easy to read. There are many implementations. Google, Facebook, and other major players implement OIDC as an identity provider. Similar concepts to SAML, but different terminology. So you'll need to understand that what one calls a service provider, the other calls a lying party. There are some differences, but they basically map to the same thing, just some different ways of doing the stuff. And the specifications developed to allow many IDPs have been being developed or have been developed and are being implemented. And I think some of the team down here are actually doing some of that OIDC federation stuff at the moment within their own identity federations. And it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. So an identity provider. So this is some of the technical bits that the universities or organisations that have users run. An identity provider is a system entity that issues authentication assertions enabling single sign-on across many federated services. They are run by an organisation that has users that want to access a service, universities for example. It is generally back-ended by the university's identity management system. This previously was connecting to the university's directory server. Most universities have moved beyond that now, and we now chain to the university's enterprise IDP, such as Entra or Okta, etc. Provides a single common login user interface for all users of the organisation, enables single sign-on and improves security. So each organisation needs to run an identity provider that has users that want to access services. On the other side of the fence are our service providers. Service provider is a system entity that receives and accepts authentication assertions. It's run by an organisation that wants to share content, resources, or collaboration beyond its own boundaries. Offloads authentication to federated identity providers, no longer needs to deal with users onboarding and offboarding, password management, multi-factor, etc. And as we spoke about earlier, saves time and effort and improves security. So we have two parts of the puzzle. Identity providers over here run by your universities where people log in. Service providers run over here by publishers and research infrastructure and other things that want users to log in and access them. So with that done, we've got identity providers at the university, service providers at the services. We need some federation tools to glue it all together. So with all of these identity providers and service providers tools to help keep everything in order. So our first tool that our federation operators will generally run is a federation registry. It collects and maintains information about each entity in the federation, a metadata collection management system, in fact. So each entity has some metadata. That's just the technical information about that system. And it provides information about the endpoints, about certificates used by the technology, provides contact information, and some policy information is all held within this metadata. Adds registration authority, so the Federation Registry will add some information to that metadata about each thing, such as the registration authority, and it will generate Federation metadata. It generally provides some sort of simple workflow for approval of identity or entities joining the Federation, and there are many more functions that a Federation Manager or Federation Registry can perform. But in fact, it just captures the metadata for each participating member's technology. It's like a big library of all the stuff that is in the Federation. Service catalogue. This is something I've been wanting forever and ever and ever, and we now have one. Woo-hoo. In the AF, or the starts of one. So now that we've collected all this information about the IDPs and the services in the Federation, it would be great for a user to be able to find the service that will help them, or for prospective members to see what sort of services are being provided by the Federation. To date, this has not been done very well. The Koreans have a reasonably good service catalogue. There's a link here. And the AF have a new service catalogue, which I'm just going to demo now, I hope this will work. Did that come up? That's not going to work because I'm not connected to the internet. So if you want me to demo it, I'll do it at the next session. But it's looking quite nifty. And it lets people search for particular services using tags and organisations and various things. It's been taking me about 5 or 6 years to actually convince our technical team to build me one of these things, instead of just a web-based, here's a list of stuff that's manually maintained by somebody and not maintained very well. It would be also useful to provide a searchable Federation members lists, and that's something I will also take back to our team so that we can see from a service provider's perspective what organisations are identity providers in our Federation. And they can say, oh, we're interested in those 5 identity providers, let's join the Federation so we can connect to them, save time, money, effort, all that sort of stuff. So service catalogue is a good thing, just getting people to build one and getting to maintain it's going to be difficult. Business reporting and reporting and business intelligence. So this is about knowing how your users are utilising services in the Federation and will help with sustainability. And I believe, David, you've still got the EduGain reporting service. Is that still going? So it collects information about what's happening globally. One day we'll feed our information into your catalog, into your tool. We're getting there. Yep. Yep. So we've actually now. So we now do collect FTICs for 70% of our Federation IDPs, and we'll just get to the other 30% over the next couple of years. But we do collect that. Now that we're collecting it, we're now building some reporting stuff that will be useful for a user making to know if users are making full uses of the services in the Federation, are IDPs getting the most from their Federation, and even how much from it. So how many services are actually being used by each individual university? It's one of the questions we get asked quite regularly. And as we go and do tours and visit folk, it would be nice to say, and here is your report for your Federation participation last year, and have a good conversation around that. Is the effort to run a service paying off? So are the number of users you're expecting actually visiting your service? So having that sort of information would be good, and it will help continue to grow the Federation, because if we can show there is good value, good use of your Federation, it will sort of grow and grow in itself, that more folk will use it, better logs, better usage, more growth. Metadata distribution. So in the SAML-based Federation, each IDP and SP needs to have a copy of the metadata of every other participant. It's the role of the Federation operator to provide this service. So you can provide either a metadata aggregate, that's the old way of doing stuff, and some federations are moving away from this option due to the size of the aggregate being too large to be handled efficiently by the software. And they're moving to a thing called metadata query, or MDQ, which provides the metadata only when requested. So the first time a user hits a service that the IDP has seen and hasn't seen it before, it will go off and do a query, get that metadata, and then continue to use that. So there's a lighter footprint on memory footprint using the MDQ, and things tend to work a bit more efficiently with that. We have a distribution page, but I can't show it because it's connected to the internet yet. But our MDQ needs some work. We've got one that's there, but it doesn't meet the full specifications. And that's mainly because we've got it stuck in AWS, and the guys haven't sort of done all the work yet to make it happen. But it's close. We're using it for some of our things. Our discovery service. So in a federation with many identity providers, a mechanism is required to help service providers determine which IDP to send the user to when logging in. SAML provides a discovery protocol, or previously it was called a where are you from protocol, and it provides a method to find the user's identity provider in a privacy-preserving way. When a user attempts to log into a service, the service provider sends them to or provides a discovery service UI that shows all of the IDPs. The user selects their identity provider. And Pal's mentioned one earlier, seamless access, which is a global discovery service option. And that's probably the option that we will be moving to in the next few years once they've sorted out the select your IDPs to show in that in that discovery service thing. But we do provide our own discovery service at the moment, and there are other options for providing that, and a number of services do provide their own discovery service. And Simple SAML PHP has a discovery service built into it as well. Diagnostic tools, so testing tools can be helpful to diagnose issues when a user attempts to log in. The most common issue is around missing attributes, so we've provided a simple attribute reflector or attribute validator that checks that the attributes that have been provided by an IDP when a user attempts to log in are correct and meet the specifications. And these tools save time and effort when issues occur. Other tools have been developed to verify entities' metadata, check on certificate expiration, check on the endpoint status so that to see if the actual IDP is running, and all of these help keep your federation operational. So again, this is a federation operator's responsibility to ensure things are working and continue to work and are sustainable, so having these diagnostic tools around is also very useful. I'm out of breath and out of slides, and I think I'm nearly out of time, I hope. So any questions? So this session's really been a brain dump of mine to provide a brief introduction to identity federations. There's much more to learn, to understand, and to know to develop your federations. But we have many experts on many channels to provide you with advice and help. If all you need to do is reach out. So we've got Slack channels, there's email lists, there's our team in the front rows here who are all here to help you develop and run your identity federations in your national federation space and to join to Edugain. So any questions from the audience? David?
The first one is about relationship, if you have any, you or any other identity federation here in the room, with local eGovID initiatives. And this is just to go after what you were talking about before, the colleague from Hong Kong. So the possible integration with local government ID. This is something that, for example, we have tried to do for some time in Italy. We are not there yet, but just wanted to know, for example, for AEF or any other in the room, if they have been successful, they are trying to, what are the plans for this? So, what type of integration also? Yeah. There are many types of integration, of course.
So we've got two things. There's Vanguard, which is an identity federation run by our government, and it's got most of the government organisations, most of the health sector in there. It's based on Microsoft Federation, but they also provide a SAML option, and we have tried many times. I think our first attempt was way back in 2010. We actually went to their offices and met with them, and they were interested. We keep running into, they've changed their staff, they've changed their management, we've forgotten who you are, we need to go over it again. We've also had one organisation, who was it, the Reserve Bank, was it? Who set the price of the interest rates for people every month. They came to us because they also wanted to join Vanguard as an organisation. They're a sort of pseudo-government organisation. They've been at it for over a year just to become a service provider, to try and become a service provider, because the policy side of things is just too hard for them. So they've tried to join the AAF to get access to the data portal through us rather than through Vanguard. So no, we haven't had much success with those guys. We keep reaching out to them every few years and they keep pushing us back. The other side of it is MyGov. So that's a identity provider for the whole of the community. I use mine once a year at tax time because I have to. And I think a lot of other people use it once a year and they have to go and pull out their password thing and remember what the password was. So it's not really got that much traction apart from when it's tax time or when you need to get access to your health records or stuff. So we haven't really gone down that path yet. There is some initiatives that we're following in the government around verifiable credentials in Australia. So we're just waiting to see what happens, and we should actually start taking a bigger role in being more aggressive and being more proactive in trying to set the pathways for that thing. But to date, we haven't really got much traction in that space.
Yeah, maybe just add on a bit. In Malaysia, we also have digital ID as well from the government, but the impression from the university that hey, it works like yours. Yeah, because we are sharing some technological profile, but the target audience are different. So we are only at the research and education community. But at the moment, we don't have like a direct peering or integration with our federation, but rather than per service. For example, let's say the university running an online learning. So the user, they have option either you want to log in using EduGain or using the National Digital ID. So that's at the moment that kind of integration. For direct, we don't, but we don't expect we will in the future. Okay. All right.
No, yeah. From a Swedish perspective, in that case, we don't have a service integration to government services because they always want to use the EID, that everyone uses for taxes and health, and so that's what government use. But we are using that type of things for establishing users at the universities, proving themselves that you are you. But we're also using it for, some universities are using it for, because that is second factor, it's a multi-factor thingy with high assurance. So some universities use that for logging in with as multi-factor login in services in our federation. So they are piggybacking on using the government. That's easy because our universities are government agencies. Because we can use it.
Yep. Ours can't.
Sorry?
Ours cannot.
No, I know.
So any further questions? Because I think morning tea is awaiting. So I don't want to hold you up. But thanks for listening. Hopefully I didn't drone on too much, but it was useful. And our next session is not in this room. We're in 417, I think, which is around the corner and down the hall. And smaller room. And grab a shirt. Can't leave without a shirt. And they'll be with me all day, so just follow me around. I'll have more shirts. Get rid of these shirts. Okay, so thanks everyone, and we'll see you in the next session after morning tea.